Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you stopping by our little spot to hang out with us today. Your support helps us reach good people like yourself. So with that said, we are going to be talking about greed. It's a word that's been thrown around since the dawn of civilization, often with a wagging finger and a warning glare. But what actually happens to us, mentally, emotionally, and even physically, when we let greed take the driver's seat in our lives? Today we'll dig deep into the roots of greed, its philosophical history, the psychological traps it sets, and the ripple effects it can have on our well-being, relationships, and the world around us. Let's start with the basics. What is greed? At its core, greed is an intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, power, or food. It's wanting more than you need, more than you deserve, and sometimes more than you could ever realistically use. But unlike ambition, which can motivate positive growth, greed is insatiable. No matter how much you get, it's never enough. That's why greed is often described as a bottomless pit. So where does greed come from? Evolutionary psychologists suggest that a certain level of wanting more was once essential for survival. Our ancestors who stored extra food or resources were more likely to survive tough times. But in the modern world, where scarcity is less of an issue for many, this instinct can spiral out of control. The drive to accumulate can turn toxic, leading to unhealthy obsessions with money, possessions, or status. Philosophers have been warning us about greed for centuries. In ancient Greece, Plato and Aristotle saw greed as a moral failing that corrupts the soul and disrupts social harmony. The Stoics, like Epictetus and Seneca, believed that true happiness comes from self-control and contentment, not chasing after endless desires. In Buddhism, greed is one of the three poisons that lead to suffering, alongside hatred and ignorance. Even in Christianity, greed is listed as one of the 7 deadly sins, a spiritual disease that distances us from compassion and community. But let's zoom in on what happens inside us when greed takes hold. Psychologically, greed can hijack your mind. It activates the brain's reward system, flooding you with dopamine, the same chemical involved in addiction. The more you get, the more you want, and the harder it becomes to feel satisfied. This can lead to anxiety, restlessness, and even depression as you fixate on what you lack rather than appreciating what you have. Greed also warps your perception of value. Suddenly, relationships, experiences, and even your own well-being take a backseat to acquiring more. You might find yourself cutting corners, justifying unethical behavior, or neglecting your health, all for the sake of that next big payoff. Over time, this can erode your sense of self-worth, leaving you feeling empty despite your material gains. Let's talk about relationships. Greed is a relationship killer. When your focus is on getting more for yourself, it's easy to become manipulative, competitive, or even deceitful. Trust erodes, empathy fades, and genuine connection becomes nearly impossible. Friends, partners, and colleagues may distance themselves, sensing that your priorities have shifted from us to me. In the long run, this isolation can breed loneliness. A painful irony, given that many people chase wealth or status in hopes of gaining social approval. On a larger scale, greed can infect entire communities, companies, and even nations. Think about the financial crises caused by corporate greed, or the environmental destruction driven by the relentless pursuit of profit. When greed becomes normalized, it creates a culture of scarcity, where people feel they must compete for limited resources, even when there's enough to go around. This leads to inequality, resentment, and social unrest. But here's something you might not expect. Greed doesn't just hurt others, it hurts you too. Studies show that people who prioritize material wealth over relationships and personal growth are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and dissatisfaction with life. The constant chase for more leaves little room for gratitude, contentment, or joy. You become trapped on what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, running faster and faster but never getting closer to happiness. So how can we break free from the grip of greed? The first step is awareness. Recognize when your desires cross the line from healthy ambition to destructive craving. Ask yourself, why do I want this? Will it truly make me happier, or am I just chasing a fleeting high? Practicing mindfulness can help you notice these patterns without judgment, giving you the space to choose a different path. Gratitude is another powerful antidote to greed. By focusing on what you already have rather than what you lack, you shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. This doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for improvement, but it does mean appreciating the journey, not just the destination. Research shows that people who regularly practice gratitude are happier, healthier, and more resilient in the face of setbacks. Generosity is the opposite of greed, and it's a muscle you can build with practice. Giving, whether it's your time, attention, or resources, creates a sense of connection and purpose. It reminds you that you're part of something bigger than yourself, and that your value isn't measured by what you own, but by the impact you have on others. Plus, acts of kindness trigger the release of oxytocin, a hormone that boosts mood and strengthens social bonds. Let's not forget the role of philosophy in spiritual practice in overcoming greed. Many traditions encourage us to reflect on the impermanence of material things and the deeper sources of fulfillment. Meditating on your values, journaling about your intentions, or simply spending time in nature can help you reconnect with what truly matters. Of course, none of this is easy. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with messages to want more, buy more, and be more. It takes courage to swim against the current, to say enough when everyone else is saying more. But the rewards are worth it. Greater peace of mind, richer relationships, and a life that feels meaningful and whole. Remember, it's not wrong to want a comfortable life or to pursue your dreams. The problem arises when the desire for more becomes an obsession, when it blinds you to the beauty of what's already within your grasp. True wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by the depth of your experiences, the strength of your relationships, and the peace you find within yourself. So next time you feel the pull of greed, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself if what you're reaching for is truly in line with your values, or if it's just an echo of the world's endless demands. Remember, it's not about denying yourself joy or ambition. It's about recognizing when enough is truly enough, and when the pursuit of more is costing you the things that matter most. Let's imagine a world where we all chose contentment over endless accumulation, where sharing was valued over hoarding, and where our worth wasn't measured by our bank accounts, but by our kindness, our wisdom, and our ability to lift each other up. It might sound idealistic, but every big change starts with small, personal choices. When you say no to greed, you say yes to a more peaceful mind, stronger relationships, and a healthier community. If you're struggling with feelings of never having enough, you're not alone. It's a challenge that faces all of us, especially in a society that glorifies excess. But you have the power to step off the hamster wheel. Start with small acts of gratitude. Notice the simple pleasures: a good conversation, a walk in nature, a moment of laughter with someone you care about. These are the things that fill us up, not the fleeting thrill of acquiring more stuff. And if you ever find yourself slipping, remember that it's okay. We're all works in progress. The important thing is to keep coming back to your center, to what matters most to you. Talk with friends and family about these ideas. Open up the conversation around greed, contentment, and what it means to live a meaningful life. You might be surprised by how many people are on the same journey. Thanks for spending this time with me, exploring the ins and outs of greed and how it can shape our lives. Remember, the journey toward contentment is ongoing, but every small step counts. By choosing awareness, gratitude, and generosity, you're not just improving your own well-being. You're also making the world a little brighter for everyone around you. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. I have more videos, so feel free to watch them as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. See you in the next video.